So, what if you could solve world peace by creating a single framework that connects science, philosophy, and even our own sense of self? I know, it sounds impossibly ambitious, right? But that's exactly the goal of this decades-long project we're going to dive into today. It's called philosophology.
Yeah, and it's so out there that one academic, Bent Lawrenson, said it wasn't even a theory, he called it a symphony. This idea that every single thought just merges together into this huge, powerful piece on world peace. That word, symphony, is absolutely key here. So today, let's listen to the different parts of this thing and see if they really do create that harmonious vision he was talking about.
All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll dig into that core piece message. Then we're going to figure out what philosophology actually is. After that, we'll check out some of its pretty surprising real-world ideas. And finally, we'll get into the personal story that kicked this whole thing off.
So, this symphony for peace, well, it's not some new tune. The heart of it, this simplified scientific world peace message, was actually put together way back in the mid-90s, and it started getting sent around the world in 1999 for the Khalsa Tercentenary.
And when I say it was shared, I mean it was shared everywhere. We're talking academic seminars, scouting camps, even government forums in places like India, Australia, and the US. I mean, it was even presented at a gathering right near the White House. But look, for a message to get that kind of reach, you know it's got to have a really powerful idea at its center.
Okay, so what is that core idea? Before we get into all the applications, you really have to get a handle on the main hypothesis that's driving this entire project. And that's this concept called phil-selfology. You know, the name itself is kind of like a map. You've got phil-self, which is all about the human self, then science for knowledge, and ology for philosophy. But it's not just mixing them together. The really big idea here, the core hypothesis, is that the way we understand ourselves on the inside is actually run by the same basic rules that run the scientific world on the outside. The whole point is to build a bridge between our inner world and the outer world.
So you might be asking, why is building this bridge so important right now? Well, the source material points to what it sees as a huge gap in modern education. Think about it. We're training tons of students in how to use things, technology, but maybe not enough in pure discovery, in the basic foundational science. And the danger there is that you end up creating these incredibly powerful tools without the deep philosophical wisdom to handle them properly. Philosology wants to be the thing that closes that gap.
Okay, so if that's the theory, connecting our inner self with outer science, what does that actually look like in the real world? This is where things get really, really ambitious. We're talking about proposed solutions for the entire planet and all the people on it.
All right, check this out. One of the boldest ideas is this thought experiment called the Happy Earth Day model. It's asking us to just imagine the whole globe being rebalanced. Picture 3 continents in the northern hemisphere, 3 in the southern. Now, the whole idea behind this global continental wave is to think about a world structure that could maybe get rid of all those geopolitical and economic problems that always seem to hit countries near the equator the hardest.
Now, on a more down-to-earth level, this philosophy looks at global problems from a totally different angle. Take this, for example. The source calculates that with 8 billion people on the planet, we produce something like 8 times billion kilograms of biowaste every single day. Now, most of us see that and think, wow, that's a huge disposal problem. But philosophy, it looks at that and sees something completely different, a resource.
And here's the proposed solution. And what's cool is how simple it is. Step 1, instead of just getting rid of all that waste, you collect it. Step 2, you use it to power local biogas projects to create energy. And then step 3, the stuff that's left over becomes natural fertilizer for organic farming. It's a perfect closed loop, basically turning a massive global problem into a sustainable solution. Pretty smart.
And the ideas don't stop there. They branch out into society itself. As you can see, the proposals really touch on, well, everything, from new ways to vote to completely new ideas for education. For example, there's a huge focus on language. Things like linking cymatics, which is the study of how sound can actually create physical shapes, with ancient scripts, and then promoting being bilingual as a key tool for becoming a true global citizen. And that whole idea about language, it's not just a theory on a piece of paper. Just this year, this project actually helped the very first candidates in India earn the Global Seal of Biliteracy for being fluent in both Gurmukhi Punjabi and English. That's a real-world win, taking a big philosophical idea and turning it into a real, certified achievement for people. So, a vision this big, this persistent, where does it even come from? To really get the passion behind philosophology, you have to go all the way back to the beginning, because this whole 30-year journey, it all started with one single act of defiance against some really rigid thinking. I mean, this timeline really lays out the dedication here. The core message gets written in the mid-90s. It goes global in 99. The official intellectual property doesn't even get filed until more than a decade after that. And then the first big real-world educational results we just talked about, that just happened in 2024. So yeah, this was definitely not an overnight idea. It's been a slow, methodical, long-term build. But the real seed for this entire philosophy was planted even earlier than that. We're going back to 1990 at the University of Adelaide, and it all came down to a fight over a single course registration form. Okay, so picture this. A science student wants to take this one course called Physics, Man, and Society. It sounds perfect, right? The ideal blend of science and humanities. But there was one little problem, a rule that said science and math majors weren't allowed to take it. So here's this student trying to build exactly the kind of bridge we've been talking about, and the institution itself has put up a giant wall. So, after getting rejected over and over, you can just imagine the frustration. He crumples up his application and just chucks it in a rubbish bin. But then, something happens. He stops, walks back to that bin, pulls the crumpled paper out, smooths it out as best he can, and marches it straight to the Dean of Academics. That right there, that's the turning point, where frustration just flips into pure resolve. And the dean, seeing this crumpled up application, was apparently pretty moved. He gets on the phone with the department and asks them, "Should I come with a stick?" And when the department tried to push back, saying, "Well, who's even going to grade the student's papers?" the dean's reply was just incredible. He said, "I'll mark his papers by myself." And just like that, the student got into the course. That one single act of support, it basically helped launch a lifetime of this kind of research. And that brings us right back to where we started. Philosophology, at its heart, is a testament to the power of bringing things together. It's built on the belief that physics, language, and our own consciousness are all just different instruments in the very same orchestra. It is an incredibly audacious attempt to write a whole new score for humanity. And it leaves us all with that one massive, ultimate question. Can a single framework, a single idea, truly compose a symphony for world peace?